Hello again to another Agricultural React, and today we'll be watching Megacities, Reality or Fiction, Architecture in Sci-Fi from Dami Lee. I keep seeing her videos in my front page, whatever it's called, on YouTube, and obviously kind of feeds into my interests. So I figured I might just do one reaction about it, and then the one is the Megacities here, and I'm gonna make a reaction to. The other one's about cyberpunk architecture. So the cyberpunk architecture is probably something that I'm definitely gonna watch as well. We'll see how it goes with this video here now. So let's just jump into it and see. What's the story with the Megacities? Because I know that, let's say, watching the Doom, the block, you know, the Megacities there, and all that was okay, let's just watch which ones she's gonna bring as an example.
One of humanity's biggest obsessions is trying to figure out how cities are going to look like in the future. By the year 2050, 68% of the world's population is projected to live in urban areas, but most cities are not prepared for this. We have congestion, crime, a housing crisis, and just an endless array of problems that come up when you try to pack a massive amount of people in a small footprint. Science fiction envisions a world that's adapted to these conditions through technology. These problems have either been eradicated or worsened, and some sci-fi has been way off, but some has been kind of spot on. But either way, they've pushed the boundaries in our thinking, and they've given us a glimpse into the future, in how we could be living, how we could be interacting with our environments and with each other. So today, I want to look at 3 sci-fi movies with really interesting city concepts,
Fifth Element and Minority Report.
And urban planning point of view.
Seen all of those movies, and The Fifth Element is one of my favorite movies.
Milanote. More on them later in this video.
Oh, already, and wow. Look at this cute little baby. And little face, not being happy about something. What I was saying. Yeah, so basically the Fifth Element is definitely New York is the mega city there. I love that movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I love it. And I really wish that, well, now in 2 years, I believe it was 1997 when it came out, and the 30th anniversary, gonna bring it back to the cinema, and I'll be able to watch it in the cinema again, not just on the TV. But the Dread is definitely something that I really enjoy. That movie. Obviously, it's not the Dread with Sylvester Stallone. I'm talking about the newer one with what's his name? I can't remember what his name is. But basically, I enjoy that movie. It's really cool. I like stuff like I like science fiction. I can't help it, but it's just that basically that's what it is. And often like cyberpunk, like those kind of mega cities are often like through the cyberpunk, like let's say Blade Runner as well, and a lot of science fiction that they are like on different planets as well, you know, like things like that. So let's just see what she's gonna have to say about New York in Fifth Element. I think I'm too close to you guys. I'll have to figure out something about my camera. Okay, anyway, so let's just jump into it again and see what we have to say. Oh, there you go, Dread. Mega City 1, yeah.
The movie is based on a future where crime level has gotten so bad that it's gone into a perpetual state of martial law. The police have dual function as judges, so they can give you a sentence on the spot, including the death penalty. The setting, Megacity 1, is a giant megalopolis that spans most of eastern US and some of Canada, which, by the way, is really close to the East Coast mega region in real life. And the architecture of the city actually acts as a form of surveillance in controlling the people. People live in these really dense residential towers with these nice big atriums, but when there's a crime in the building, it automatically triggers a system that locks you in and keeps you contained in the building. The real building, Ponte Tower, which is a residential tower near Johannesburg, that tower has eerie parallels to the one in the movie. When it was first built in the 70s, it was a really desirable address, but it very quickly turned into a slum. It was hijacked by gangs at some point, and now it's like a symbol for crime and urban decay in the city. The decline was largely due to the social and political conditions at the time, but architecturally speaking, it's brutalist. You know, there's a lot of similarities with the panopticon concept, which is the universal design concept for prisons. And I think it's this imposing architecture that turned this building into a symbol of decay. You know, architecture is not just for living in or working in, it's also a symbol. And the movie actually uses these towers as a symbol of order and surveillance, like a lot of real city designs. One of the best examples would be this guy. His ideas for cities inspired a lot of developments throughout the world, and it's had a huge impact on how cities are designed today. In 1920s, Le Corbusier created several city plans to heal Paris from its problems. It was congested, it was dirty, it was deteriorating, and his solution was to raise the entire city and replace it with this. He believed this would create order and harmony by separating all of the different functions within a city, like industrial, commercial, residential, recreational, and all the different traffic arteries. They would all be set up in different zones. Open space was a priority for air circulation because it was so lacking in Paris. So he designed these blocks to have tons of open space and circulation space by packing more density into a smaller footprint. This was never really implemented in Paris, thank God, but many housing projects throughout the world took this approach, and they actually became kind of awful places to live. If you separate all of these functions, you get dead zones throughout the day. You go to work during the day, you come back home during the evening, and if you have to work late, walking in this office area becomes kind of dangerous because the streets are dead. Same with the residential areas. During certain hours, there's like nobody on the streets. All the activity, like restaurants or bars that would be open late, are in a separate zone. And that's why well-designed cities, there's a mixture of different uses. There's shops, restaurants, offices, and apartments, so that you can get a constant flow of activity and eyes on the streets. Cities and neighborhoods become a lot safer and more lively when you have this kind of organic surveillance. But in Corbusier's designs, this was never really considered, which created really unsafe areas and the need for constant surveillance. So in a future where crime rate is through the roof, it's not really an accident that they use this type of city design in this movie.
Because it's something that basically it's overwhelming, I think, as well, isn't it? Oh, that one's long, so I'm gonna say something now, and I'm gonna probably cut because I don't have much to say about to talk through whole ad break here now. So yeah, I'm kind of glad, just like herself, that they never really did. But it's like he really wanted to like demolish the whole existing Paris, and just build all those blocks. Yeah, that would be terrible. And I never lived in a block building. I was lucky enough to live in the household, like with some bit of land and stuff like that. And now I'm living in an apartment with in an old building as well. So there's only like 2 apartments here. So there is not much. How to say it now? And by the main road as well, so basically I kind of had to get used to it, that kind of constant noise of the cars, although at night it's not that loud, what I was worrying about. But yeah, so basically I don't know, like I had family that they were living in the blocks, and I visited some of my friends from school that they were living in blocks as well, and it was something that to me was kind of like I found it as a novelty. I mean, it was different because obviously you had all those sounds. Let's say if I was staying there overnight or something like that, I found it like there's so many sounds that I'm not accustomed to, if you know what I mean, like, because there'll be someone up, like, in the blocks that they were built in Poland, where they obviously were kind of like built quickly and cheaply, so a lot of sounds that would just be going with like someone on the 10th floor with flash, or you'd be on the 4th, you still hear that thing because it's going next to your apartment, next to your bathroom or something like that. That's how I think. That's my only experiences with living in the blocks. It's just kind of like being in the hotel. I think a big high-rise hotel as well. So well, like, look at this. I actually talked to the episodes. All right, now let's go back because I'm seem to be rambling, not making any sense.
Whenever I make a video like this, it takes up a lot of research and brainstorming, and up until recently, we used to collect all the research in a document, but it started to get kind of limited. So when Milano reached out, to be honest, I hadn't heard of them before, so I wanted to make sure I tried it out for a bit before I shared it with you guys. So we tried brainstorming on this idea board, and we actually used this to guide the entire research for this video, and we really liked it. Just having a visual board makes everything super clear, and it kind of allowed us to make connections that we didn't really see before. They have really nice templates for different types of work, from research, mood board, and storyboard. And once we had a rough idea which movies we wanted to talk about, we could drag and drop different notes and links. And the best thing is that it actually converts the links into thumbnails, so you don't need to download anything to put it on your board. All of this is on the cloud, and you can share it with other people. Milano is free with no time limit, so you can sign up using the link in the description and start your next creative project. I'm actually really curious how you guys use Milano, so if you liked it, just let me know in the comments.
I might look it up because I'm trying to do something about my crafting channel, and I'm kind of brainstorming some ideas to do, and I'm just can't get organized well enough to actually do it. And I have to reset the whole desk here because, well, obviously my cameras for the desk and stuff like that are not in here anymore. So yeah, okay, let's just go. This is Fifth Element.
The movie The Fifth Element depicts a megacity that solved the population crisis by building vertically. These towers go on for miles and miles and miles, and they use flying cars and public transit navigating in 3 dimensions to get around. Natural light and ventilation is an issue, and the further you go down, it gets worse and worse. Even above, it's not really the nicest conditions. People live in these little pods with like little to no personalization. Building vertically makes a lot of sense, especially if it's a city with a clear perimeter. There's a lot of efficiencies when your infrastructure can serve more people in a smaller footprint. There's a couple of technologies that would have to involve to make this scenario plausible. You would need flying cars or some sort of vertical transportation, which is actually not that far-fetched. They're already testing these automated taxi drones. We would also need new materials and new construction technology. Like, for example, there's this new type of bioconcrete that can heal its own cracks. There's also been a lot of development in heavy timber construction, for example. We have the tallest wood tower being built in Japan, which is obviously huge because you can offset a lot of the carbon footprint. I think more than the material strength, it's the constructability that's going to be a bigger issue. How do you get materials that high? It's fine when it's like 30 or 40 stories, but when it goes up to like 100 stories, the concrete starts to harden, and that's problematic. You know Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world? They created a special mixture that can travel in liquid form over a long distance, and they're gonna keep coming up with these new solutions for these new challenges. But maybe the construction doesn't even happen at ground level. Maybe it starts at an intermediate level that acts as another ground plane. In fact, you can see a lot of bridges connecting different buildings. If you want to go from here to here, it doesn't really make sense for you to have to go all the way down to get to another building. And we actually do have cities, mostly colder, windy cities like Minneapolis or Calgary, that have smaller versions of these bridges, and they're called skyways. People park their cars, they go to work, they go shopping, and they can do all of this without going outside. One of the reasons I moved away from Toronto was because of the cold, so I really truly appreciate these internal pathways. But it's kind of a problem because not everyone gets to use them. These skyways are privately owned because they connect private buildings, so the developers don't really have an incentive to make them more welcoming. In fact, when the city of Minneapolis hired architectural consultants to improve the accessibility to the skyways, Most of the developers' response was that they don't really want to attract the wrong kind of people. In an entire city that's connected with skyways, it really makes me wonder, where is the line between public and private?
That's a good question, obviously. What do I say? I actually don't know, because I was just talking, wasn't I? Yeah, so basically, the skyways are, good ones, especially if you want to go from one place to another. But I kind of understand why the developer doesn't want to do anything about it, because it's obviously costs money, and they don't want to do something that this is not bringing any money. This is there to just connect from one building to another. So, and often it's probably even like, maybe it isn't, but I don't know, like, there's not that many skyways in Europe, as far as I know. I haven't really traveled that much, so I can't really say much. But yeah. Okay, I'm back, I think. So let's just see what else you have to say about skyways. I think that was all.
Let's talk about the constructability again for a sec. A lot of people think that the problem with tall buildings is the weight of the building, but actually the bigger issue is the force of the wind on the building. We call this the lateral force. Basically, the higher you go, the stronger the wind force is going to be on the building. Like if you have a wind force of 10 kilometers an hour at the bottom of a building, it can go up to like 70 or 80 on top. And apparently at the top of the Burj Khalifa, it's like 200 kilometers an hour.
Whoa.
And it's also really unpredictable. A common concept when it comes to tall buildings is torquing. Not twerking, torquing. It's like twisting. One of the solutions is exterior bracing. It holds the building in place and it stops it from twisting. A lot of these buildings will probably look more like this. Another solution is, the original concept is from Frank Lloyd Wright and his Mile High Tower. It's dense at the bottom and it tapers at the top. When it was built, it was pretty revolutionary, but now you have the Burj Khalifa and other skyscrapers using the same concept. But the problem with this is that you need to make the bottom so fat to get a smaller top, and it's just not really economical to drop off so much mass at the top. So one of the new solutions is by Calatrava in Dubai, and it's gonna be the tallest tower in the world. Whoa. And I think it's kind of genius. Instead of bracing it or bundling it, they've got cables attached throughout the building to hold it when it sways. So for example, when the building wants to sway this way, it'll have cables pulling from this side. And if the building wants to sway this way, it'll have cables pulling from this side. By the way, if you guys want more information on these structural kits, I'll leave the link in the description. I mean, just a couple hundred years ago, people would have never thought of skyscrapers. You know, we only started getting these since the invention of elevators. So probably in the future, with new materials and new technology, we're probably gonna be able to get like 500 stories or 1,000 stories. I think the bigger problem is going to be, how can we create equitable spaces throughout? You know, like I said, there's this blurring of the private and public spaces, but also having this height naturally creates the really desirable spaces at the top and the really undesirable sections at the bottom. We would need artificial lighting that really closely mimics daylight, and also a way to provide fresh air for the lower areas, but also just making sure that we have the right policies in place to not create these social divides between these sections.
I'm home.
It doesn't really matter how tall you can build if there isn't a way to move around efficiently. Minority Report has a much more comprehensive vision of how a city could completely reshape itself based on this new transportation system. Instead of flying cars, they have these maglev pods that travel on these dedicated lanes, which are integrated into the urban fabric, and they even become a part of the building's facade. The design of these is actually really cool. It's got an internal gyroscope so that you can stay upright whether you're traveling horizontally or vertically. It's self-driving, it's controlled by a centralized AI, so if you trust the government, you just hop in, put in your destination, and boom, you're there. It takes out the human error factor, so there's less chances of collisions, and they can maneuver in a way that can solve a lot of these congestion issues. Now, this type of infrastructure is kind of a similar idea to the one in Fifth Element, but the biggest difference is that you can go straight from your destination to your apartment, and you don't need to go outside at all. And I think that would change the social dynamics in so many ways. There's a kind of forced social interaction that happens just by the fact that you live close to someone and you run into each other in lobbies or in the elevators. And if these lobbies or amenity spaces are designed in a way that encourages social interaction, then you get to know your neighbors. So even if you don't have any friends or family, at least you have the people around you that you can interact with. That's the traditional idea of a community and having neighbors. With more and more towers being built, this idea of community has been slowly disintegrating, which adds to the social isolation. But maybe a system like this could actually democratize buildings. These days, we have a lot of sky gardens and amenity spaces within buildings, but they can only be used through the building. So by having the ability to access the building from different points, maybe some of these spaces could be made accessible to the public or to paid members through an app. All of this is really exciting, but who knows? Maybe in the future, our built environments are just going to be secondary and we're going to be spending more time in the virtual reality. Or maybe cities become local organisms to protect against natural disasters or threat of war. Or maybe we just stop trying to improve the city altogether. Mark Wigley once said, "Architecture never derived its force from stability of culture, but rather from the expression of those moments when the sense of stability slipped." If we can agree on one thing, I think it's that we're living in really uncertain times, and this is the breeding ground for a lot of the changes in the environment. There's a lot to unpack here, so let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to know more about architecture, I'm going to leave a playlist at the end of this. And if you like sci-fi or dystopian architecture, you should probably have a look at my Neon and Burning Man videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
This is cool. I like her. And the way how she made the video, it's really nice as well, really approaching too. So, yeah, definitely gonna check out some more stuff of hers. Yeah, this is discovering time-bending architecture and all that. Yeah, very interesting subject to me. So, yeah, I do agree with her. We're definitely in the time when we don't know where we're going with, because there's so many things are changing so quickly, and there's a lot of technological not investments in technological progress that basically is gonna lead to one to another, and we might think that's not doesn't have to have any impact on architecture, but everything have impact on everything. It's not like it's totally like just in this way. That's what I think anyway. So, oh, Hype City, that looks interesting. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I see you tomorrow. Bye!